Hi, everyone. Troy Sage here, and this is Real Estate Talk. In these episodes of Real Estate Talk on our podcast, we will be interviewing lenders, realtors, and about anything and everything to do with real estate. So stay tuned for this episode. This episode, or episodes of Real Estate Talk, I have my rock star real estate agent from the greater Phoenix area, Brandelyn Jones. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, I kind of want our viewers and our listeners to learn a little bit more about you. They already know that you're awesome as a buyer's agent. You're fantastic as a listing agent. You work a lot, and people love you, which is awesome, right? And a lot of people can't say that about real estate agents. So, talk to our viewers and our listeners a little bit about what you did before real estate.
So before real estate, I actually was in recruiting. I did medical healthcare recruiting. From there, I actually had a little jaunt with the Arizona Department of Juvenile Corrections.
Well, you were a correctional officer?
Yes, the ninja, Brandy the ninja, the correctional officer with juveniles.
Okay. And then from there, you went where?
From there, I went to work for a major medical pharmaceutical company. And then you and I, as we know, brother, sister, we had a dream and put this real estate team into action.
Yeah, and that's something that we don't hide, but it's not the forefront of our business.
That's right.
So you tell your story of how you got into real estate when we talked about you coming and getting involved in this beautiful industry, and then I'm going to kind of give my pitch on that as
You're
well.
going to put the twist on it, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna give my perspective.
Well, I watched you do it for so many years. I also watched you do your previous love of your life, which is, traveling and being that rock star that you were. But the real estate business, I watched you do it. We talked about it for so many years, years and years. We're going to get together. We're going to be that, bomb brother sister team. We just never found the time. And a couple years ago, we just put our heads together and said it's probably a good time to do this. The funny thing about it is I don't think that either one of us thought it would really come into fruition. We talked about it for so many years, and then we just pulled the trigger and made it happen.
Well, yeah, and I tell this story because that's exactly what happened. We had talked about it for years, and I think at one point you called me and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about getting into insurance sales."
Right.
And I said, "Great, get into insurance sales, and I can refer buyers to purchase insurance." And then I said, why don't you just get into real estate? And I'm kind of paraphrasing because it was years ago. And the way it played out for me on this side of the table was you said, yeah, you were thinking about it. And I got a phone call several months later. And again, paraphrasing, you said, hey, cut me the check. Because I said, if you get your license, I'll pay for school. And then I'll have to get my broker's license in Arizona. And you did. And I was floored. I absolutely floored. And then from there, in 2017, I went to school, got my broker's license there. As most of our viewers know, I'm a broker in California and in Arizona now, and started my career in Michigan. So this is a beautiful journey that we're on together, and I appreciate everything in which you do as I commute back and forth. But I wanted to ask you a couple of questions in regards to real estate. One of the questions I have here is, what are your loves and your dislikes about the industry?
I guess my biggest dislike is the public's perception of what we do or what they think we do. We work very, very, very hard, and the dedication is just ridiculous that we have to give to every transaction. My love really is, it's a passion. I love working with my brother, but I love working with people and helping them achieve the American dream, making that purchase. And doing investment properties is the next step I think we're going to take. But that's definitely, it's summarizing it on the goods and the bads.
Yeah, and we're always learning. The beautiful thing for this industry for me is it's always constantly changing. There's always something new to learn. There's some new marketing. The industry truly hasn't changed in over 50 years, right? It's a relationship business, and that's what you do really well with people. You build a strong bond and a relationship with them, and every top producer I've ever worked with in all the years I've done this, that is what they're great at, is a relationship. So hats off to you on having that.
Thank you.
I think it comes inherently with your personality, which we'll talk a little bit more about in one of the episodes, or maybe continued. But just for an idea, there has been memes all over Facebook and all over the media, and you and I laughed about this earlier. There's a picture of a guy with a cigar and a bunch of money, and then the next picture is him in his Lamborghini, and the next picture is him in this big mansion, and it says what the public thinks we do. Like we sit on our butt and we smoke cigars, and then it says what we really do, and it's a guy in a tank top basically digging ditches, and then he's working all these hours, and then the last picture is him with like a check for like $500. And for some real estate agents, they'd be really better off working at Walmart, because they don't engage in the industry. They think it's really simple. So for our viewers and listeners, how many hours do you put in on average a week?
At least 70 or 80. I mean, we're working 10, 11, 12-hour days. And that's just to make something happen. Doesn't count the time you're putting into once you have something rolling with a client. So it's more than a full-time job.
Right. And what I tell when I'm teaching classes, or I'm talking to our teams in both states, or whoever I'm talking about in real estate, especially people that call me that want to get their licenses, be prepared to work 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, and 5 to 6 hours a day on your alleged day off to get your career launched.
Right.
So many people think it's super easy to get your license, and because you have a business card, you're now successful. It is. You're starting a career and you're starting a business. So 70 to 80 hours a week, I would think that's probably pretty average for an agent that has 3 years or less experience. In all the time that we sell real estate, let's talk about buyers. So we get a phone call, you're doing open house, whatever, there's a buyer. What makes us different, or let's focus on you. What makes you different in working with a buyer? What are the steps that they take, and how do you work with buyers?
Well, ultimately, it really comes down to being transparent and being a good communicator. You have to sit down. They have to feel comfortable with you, and you have to feel comfortable with them. So that means opening up, being transparent, especially working with buyers. I think setting expectations is the next step. Are you working with another agent? That's a big one for me. I don't want to step into somebody else's territory, and there are a lot of people out there that are shopping agents. So that's a big one for me. Commitment to me as your agent, and commitment for me to work with you.
So is it fair to say, and we've dealt with this in the industry forever, you have a buyer, and they call you and they say, hey, can we take a look at this home? And the first thing you ask is, are you working with an agent?
Correct.
Right? And I think what buyers don't realize, because of how the industry's changed, and in my opinion, a lot of it is false advertisement. It gives the buyers a false sense of security that they can work with 4, 5, 6, 8 different agents, whoever finds them a home. That's who they're going to sign the contract with.
Right.
What we do a little bit different is we don't just work with every single buyer.
That's correct.
So lay out for me what the process is and how we approach these buyers, because we're going to commit a massive amount of time, our years of experience, and our negotiating skills. So if I called you right now and said, hi, I see this home at 123 Main Street, and I'm not working with an agent, what would you say to me, and what is your next step?
The next question I would have is, are you working with a lender, and do you have a pre-approval? And again, this rolls right back to conversations we've had in the past about you don't want to go out and start working with someone who's not working with a lender. They fall in love with a home that they can't afford. So we want to know what their price point is. I'm not going to go buy a Mercedes if I can only afford the Kia. That's kind of funny that I just said that, and I'm not going to go there. But
right, it totally makes sense.
Right.
And that totally makes sense. So you're telling me as a buyer that you're going to dedicate time to me. First step is you have to get pre-approved.
Correct.
Right? And then from the pre-approval, what's the next steps in which you take?
Well, and this is kind of twofold. I don't put anybody in my car or open up doors for anybody unless I have a commitment from them. But there's a buyer-broker agreement that's a mutual agreement between buyer and myself that we're committed to another. And it's a safety issue. A lot of times we're getting calls from people that we've never met. And that's how, I convince them that this is something that's required, let alone on a commitment issue, but it's a safety issue.
Absolutely. And what has, in my opinion, what's cheapened our industry is you have too many agents, and most of them are new agents. So not criticizing the newbies. They will throw people in the car without ever seeing if they're pre-approved or put a buyer-broker agreement in place. And truly, all the buyer-broker agreement says that, Brandelyn, you're going to dedicate time to find them a home, and they're going to use you as an agent. But it's a free employment contract because the seller pays your commission. one of the advantages that you and I are talking about when they work with you in the greater Phoenix area is the fact that just because a property's on the MLS doesn't mean there isn't more inventory.
That's right.
So what do you do if I said I'm looking for a 4-bedroom home with a pool in Surprise or whatever area, it doesn't matter, Cave Creek, Surprise, anywhere in the greater Phoenix area, and I can't find anything on the internet?
Well, then I do a community search. I narrow it down to what they're kind of looking for. I'll look for a floor plan or a model match for them. And if it's not in the MLS or it's not listed, I will actually go and knock on doors and try and find somebody that might be interested in getting rid of their property.
That is some old school real estate, because when I first started, that's what we had to do. We didn't have computers. So now I'm really aging myself. But it is going the extra mile.
Right.
And that is why we have a system in place. It's always about establishing the game plan.
Right.
So if I'm telling you I want a beautiful 4-bedroom home, minimum 3,500 square feet with mountain views and a pool, and there's nothing available, what you're saying is you're going to actually get on the phone or drive neighborhoods and knock on doors and see if anyone's even considering selling their property.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's not many agents that really do that at all, and I think both of us can agree to that. We see thousands and thousands of agents get in the business and then get out. So the buyer-broker agreement is not anything scary.
Nope.
The getting approved is necessary,
Absolutely.
and there's safety issues, right? I mean, not just women, but men as well, but more so women. You have freaks that target agents, so you want their information. And what you and I have discussed before is if someone's not willing to sign a buyer-broker and they're not willing to get pre-approved, why would you, one, work for free, and two, put yourself at harm's way? You don't know who this person is.
Exactly.
It's the same conversation that we have with sellers when they're prepping their property, and we ask them to take down all their personal pictures and put stuff away. Because what happens is once we shoot video and pictures of their property, when we mark it on the internet, it only takes a millisecond that it's on the internet, and somebody can download it. And we don't want, for the safety of the family, we don't want people looking at pictures on the wall.
Right.
And not only that, when they're at the property, even like awards, I've worked with lots of veterans, and they have all kinds of beautiful, they've got medals, they've got awards, they've got all the things that they've accomplished. Same with sports players. We've worked with plenty of sports athletes as well. And people walk into a room, and they become in awe with what's on the wall, and they forget they're looking to buy a home.
Yep.
So there's lots of things that there's a list of things that you do very different than the other agents, and it's always focused on the safety of the client and financially their best interest.
Yep.
So we've reworked a few things in the past couple of years. I had to change the name from the Troy Sage team to Sage and Associates. And when we put that together, I came to you and I came to other team members and said, I'd like to come up with a slogan. And we actually hired a marketing firm that talked to you and talked to the other agents, and they came up with this marketing firm. Do you want to tell our viewers and our listeners what this is?
It's a combination of both of our personalities, I guess. And people know that sometimes I can be a little off the chain, and I do a little of that sprinkling. So we have, the Troy, where we invest in you from the time we meet till the time we close. And then you have Brandy, who just comes in there and sprinkles and says, and then we celebrate together.
And then we celebrate together. So you've known me my whole life. And I'm not much of a celebrator. I'm a high D personality. I'm very driven, and let's get this deal done. Let's protect the clients and this and that. And I don't take a lot of time to celebrate. So I want to thank you for adding that sparkle to my life. And I can tell you that it's trickled down to the team members because I just work. And this little tagline, then we celebrate together, I'm glad you guys like it.
We love it.
For me, my celebration is making sure the homeowner has their keys and they're smiling, they're happy, and I'm back going to the next deal. So I appreciate you helping me with this. I truly do appreciate you on this team. You're a true leader, and as we build this business, there'll be a lot more podcasts with you in it. So thank you for being here. And if anyone in the greater Phoenix area needs any information on real estate, they can contact you direct or contact me. As our viewers may or may not know, I split my time. And super happy to have you on the team. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
This is Troy Sage with Real Estate Talk. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please reach out and email them or give me a call. I appreciate you watching the video. Please subscribe, and as always, make it a great day.